Hi everyone, today we're going to go through the 5 easiest armies to play in Age of Sigmar 4th edition. And this is based upon 3 different criterias. How easy they are to paint, how difficult or easy they are to play, and how affordable they are to collect. So money-wise, that is. And before going on with the video, I just wanted to point out that I have cut my hair. I don't know if you noticed that in any of my earlier videos, but now it's shorter. And that doesn't make me a better YouTuber, but it makes me a guy with shorter hair. So yeah, with that said, let's go and start out with the 5th spot of the list. And so I'm going to choose in between these, and I know like some of the books here are old, but this was the ones that I was able to find, and I didn't like really have time to make my own tier maker thingy, so I just went with this. And the first one is Magotkin of Nurgle, and that was also the first army that I played when I started out with Age of Sigmar. And why did I do that? Well, first off, painting wise, they are fairly easy to paint. They got like the models you can mess up quite a bit, and that will still suit the army. So for example, Nurgle's Rot and Blood for the Blood, whatever it's called, colors from Citadel are great colors to use because they make them like messy. And yeah, and they also like, you can go with different color schemes, but you'll get back to, even if you mess up a bit, you can just put some gooey stuff on there with Nurgle's Rot, for example, and that will just solve your problems. And they also have quite a like the most of the models are point wise, you don't need a huge army. If you go on the demon side, you will have the plague bearers. That will be more units to paint, but you can paint them like basically all in the same color, and you don't have to do that much more to them to make them look good. And then you will also have, like on the mortal side, you will have fewer units in general when you make an army. You can always mix those two, but yeah, they're just quite easy to paint when you're a beginner. And the like play wise, I would say that it's a quite like easygoing army, and it's a durable army because they have their 5-up ward, and they also have the ability to bring back units when they die at the end of your turn, and they spread disease and are just annoying for your opponent to go up against. So with the Magotkin of Nurgle, you will also have table presence, and you will rarely be wiped out. You can be if you depending on what list you build and how you play, of course, but I would say in general they are quite durable army, and quite easy to pick up, and the rules aren't that bad for the army. They're quite easy, and also with the new book, I think they made a lot of things even easier, especially with like how the disease points are spread out, and yeah, how that work is way easier now than it used to be in the last in the 3rd edition, because that was a mess keeping track of all this, and it takes a lot of play time doing that. With that said, when it comes to buying the army, I would say it's of the armies I'm going to list today, the top 5 list, I wouldn't say that this is the cheapest army, but I would say you can find on like the secondhand market, you can find a lot of things from like 60 to 70% off the new price, or like 30% off, that would be. Something like that. And you will also be able to find, they have great start collecting boxes. So they have this army box that came out recently with a lot of the mortal units in it. And right now the meta seems to be, or not, well, one of the metas playing Nurgle seems to be having just tons of flies. and that box might be good to start off with if you want to do that. Yeah, and so you both have that, and then you'll also have some of the older, like some of the models are quite old, so you have a lot of them out in different play groups that want to get rid of them, and then so Plague Bearers, Goo has been around for a while, and the Blight Kings, etc. So you could probably get some of those for like 30 to 40% off. And yeah, that's Nurgle. That's a solid start if you want to start out with Age of Sigmar, Maggot Kingdom Nurgle. On fourth place, this is quite a, like, this is not the whole army, but I would pick Orc Warclans, but not necessarily the Orc part. I would pick the Iron Jaws part. And why? Well, start off like with the painting. I would say it's like they have big models and huge areas to paint, but they don't have quite as many models as other armies, so you don't have to paint that much. And you can also go with like a fairly easy paint scheme when you paint these. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, when it comes to playing them, I would say that the Iron Jaws part of the army has quite straightforward playstyle. You just charge into your opponent and deal out a bunch of damage, and you're also quite fast, so you can move across the board quite easily, which makes it easy for you to play. You don't have to think that much. But with that said, it's also like it can quickly go bad for you when you play them as well. They're not as durable as Nurgle, for example, but it's a quite easy army to start out with, just because of the rule set for the units. And they have both like some tanky units, and they have some like faster or punchier units as well. Either way, I see those on the secondhand market a lot, and I see them for like a whole army for like 50% off. And yeah, that's like, you can find this army on the secondhand market for a good deal. And there's also recently released a big box with this as well, an army box with a bunch of units that already has a good price tag on it. So with a lot of savings on the units if you were to buy them separately. And yeah, so a lot of times you can find an army for like 50% off the retail price. So I would say that's good, and that's also a quite easy army to start out with if you want to start playing. I would also like to mention that the Orc part of it that came with the Dominion box when AOS 3rd edition came out, I think it was, yeah. That came with Stormcast and Orc Warclans. Those models are also really easy to get a hold of, and you can also get them made even for like 60% off or 70% off. So if you want to add that to your collection and build your army around that, you can do that as well. But when it comes to this section, I'm talking about the Iron Jaws part of the army, because I think that's usually how you play it. You don't mix that much. Anyways, let's go on with place number 3, and that will be, I'm just gonna see if I can find them here. Here they are. The Ogre Maw tribes. They are, as with the Iron Jaws, they are also an army that you're quite like, when it comes to painting them, they are quite big, and there's big areas to paint, but there's mostly like skin, big clubs, and there's like some armor, leather, fur, and that's what you need to paint. And you can mostly just like cover all of those areas with paint with and then make a wash or whatever, or use contrast paints if that's your style, or dry brush the fur. It might look good. Yeah, I would say they're easy to paint, and you can just stick with the same colors on most of the army. You don't need that many colors, and then to play them, they're also quite easygoing. The rules aren't that bad. There's not that many units to pick from, and you even if you go with like the beast claw rider part of the army where you have these big monsters that you ride around on, they make a lot of damage, and they have more wounds and stuff like that. Like you can charge into people and make a lot of damage, and they're also pretty quick, because the rest of the army, the walking units, aren't as quick. But with that said, they also have a shooting part of the unit that is quite fun to play around with. They both have footmen that can shoot, and they have what is it called? Like iron blasters that can shoot and do quite a lot of damage as well. So that makes it a fun army to play, I would say. It's easygoing, but you can make like your own tweaks to it, and just a quite easy army to start out with. And when it comes to the budget, saying like, since there are a lot of old models in this army, they've been around for a long time, and people seem to have them on their shelves and seem to want to get rid of them and try something new as well. And I would say the models, some of them are quite boring, but the army itself is pretty cool. So you can get these, like I see them often for like 50% off retail price on the secondhand market. When it comes to big starting boxes and stuff like that, they don't have that many as of now. They used to have, so if you're lucky, you can find some of the old ones, and then you can get that for a good deal. But I would go for like try to look secondhand and see if anyone has them laying around. Yeah, and that's the number 3. Yeah, most of the time I would say like you can find them for like 30 to 50% off if you buy like someone's old army or whatnot. And this is all like based on what I see when I look around, and I look mostly into the Swedish market, of course, since that's where I'm from. But I also tend to have an eye open sometimes and see like eBay and stuff like that. So I don't think I will be that off, even if you're not Swedish or living here. The second place go to Ninth Haunt. The ghosts, well, I mean, painting wise, they're ghosts, so they're quite easy to paint. You just have to, you can use contrast paints or washes, and then just make them look like see-through ghosts, kind of. Quite easy, even if they have, you're able to have a lot of units or a lot of models, but you can just paint them all kind of the same. And you don't have to be that specific when you paint them. If you want to be like go and point out details or paint them in a different way, you can do that for sure. But I would say like you can almost just dip all of these in paint and then pull them out, and then they're good to go. Almost. When it comes to the play style, they have as well with the Nurgle that has a 5-up ward. Throughout the whole army, they have a 6-up ward, and they also have ignore like rend modifier, or plus and minus to save rend modifiers. What else? Yeah, they fly around. They ignore. As I said, I don't know what I said about what they ignored. What I meant was that they ignore positive and negative effects to save modifiers, which makes them kind of annoying. And they, they just like the rules for them aren't that difficult, so it's a quite easy army to get a hold on. And when it comes to the pricing for them, they used to have a lot of good boxes, or they came with a lot of came in a lot of different army boxes, so you can find them, and then you will get a good deal for them. But like, there's not as many new start collecting boxes for them. But I see 9 ton very often on the secondhand market for a cheap price, and I see that the demand for them aren't that great. So you can usually pick them up for probably like 50% off as well, which is good. And that combined with them very easy to paint, and they're easy to play, and they're also really cheap to buy, makes them a great spot for the second place in this list. Now we're going to the grande finale, the first place. And I mean, let me know if you don't agree with me on this, but this is like from what I've seen and what I think when I combine the different criterias that I've made this list based upon. The first spot goes to the poster boys. And why? Well, when it comes to painting, they have a lot of armors, shields, swords, and the old models are they have bigger areas. The newer models all actually have more details, so that might be a little bit more difficult. And with this army, there's also different things. That like the range of units is huge. They have so many units, which I wouldn't say is a good thing when you're a beginner, but because that might make it difficult to both collect and know what you want to play. But when it comes to the painting, you can use mostly the same colors, and you can have like 2 or like 3 colors and just like paint the whole army with that. And that will still look good, because that's like how they look on the pictures with the gold, blue, and so on. But I would also say that dare to paint whatever army that you're painting in your own style, because that's pretty cool when you see someone paint an army that doesn't look like on the pictures that Games Workshop put out there, that when you go for your own style. So just dare to do that, because that's pretty cool. And when you make your whole army with your painting scheme, it doesn't really matter which one you have, it will look cool all together. I would just suggest, if you're new to this hobby and if you want to get an army tabletop ready, don't be too like, no one will see the color that you put like under the models. You look at the table from above, so everything like underneath the arms or between the legs, stuff like that, you won't see that if there's not something like huge between their legs, like no, I'm not gonna go on with that joke. Sorry about that. Anyways, so that's just a tip if you're painting. And if you're painting Stormcast, you can paint them quite easily. It's not a difficult army to paint. It can be if you want to go there, but it doesn't have to be. When it comes to playing them, well, it has one of the more difficult armies to play if you build a list like that. But you can build really easy lists as well, and then that will make them quite easy to play, and the rules for them quite easy to understand. But there's a lot of shenanigans you can do with this army, and a lot of top players actually play this army, even if this is like the poster boy army for Age of Sigmar, and a lot of new players coming into the hobby tend to get Stormcast and start playing with them. So this, like, when it comes to the playing part, I wouldn't say that this is the main reason why it's up on top. It's for the painting and what I will come to next, the availability to get these for a good price. So we're going on to that step now. You can find them in the old Dominion box, and that part of the box with the Stormcast part, and you can get that for a great deal. Sometimes around like 70% off, I see them get sold. And even though they're older models, you can still play with them, I would say. No one really cares about that. And even the newer models that came out with the latest Skaventide box for Age of Sigmar 4th, there's also like, they seem to have printed up tons of those boxes, and I can still see them in most of the stores. And you can buy one. Now they're usually on sale as well, but you can buy one and then just pick out the Stormcast part and sell the rest of the stuff in the box, and you might even make money out of buying it. So how good is that, right? And that also gives you a great start with the army. So try to find these secondhand. Secondhand, you can find them for like 60% off as well. But or go for either one of like the starting boxes. But as I said, the Skaventide one, it's a good deal. You get the rule book as well if you're new to the game. And yeah, that is basically why Stormcast is on top here, because combined with how easy they are to paint and how cheap they are to collect. Sorry about that. I think, well, maybe it was just my screen that became black, but that combined is just, you know, you can't really compete with that when you're new to the hobby. And yeah, that's it for my list. I would just also put in a last recommendation if you're new to the game. I will drag this over here so you can see it. This is not updated. There might come a new one, but it's still like, I can still use this. So this is a reference sheet that Bear from Goonhammer made. You can find it, just Google this, and you will find this reference sheet. I find this very neat to have nearby when I'm playing my games. So it basically explains all the phases of the game, and most of this is still accurate, so you don't really have to think much about it. And then it explains like what you can do in different phases and so on. So you get everything, and you get some of the rules of one, and how you use abilities, how you use them in every phase, and what phase you can use what ability. So that way you don't have to have like 20 things in your head at the same time. So you just have to look at this. Okay, it's the hero phase. What can I do in the hero phase? I think it's great. At the first games I played, this was really, really handy for me. And the backside of the second page of it just keeps on saying the same things, and it also explains a bit like how the different champion, musician, and standard bearers, that's the same rules throughout the whole Age of Sigmar, what they do, I think. I haven't played all armies, but it should be like that. Have my camera swapped a little bit? I think so. Let's do that. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why it does this. It keeps like twisting. And then it explains you how you control an objective. And the last part, which even for an experienced player is really good. You have all the battle tactics here. I mean, this might change soon when we're going into the new General's Handbook, but until then, this is very nice to have. So you get the universal tactics that you can pick from each turn, and then you get the specific ones for order, chaos, destruction, or death, depending on what the army you play. And it's also good that you can see what your opponent are able to pick and choose from. So what I do, I printed this out, laminated it, and so now I can write, and I can just like make marks for whatever I've done. Even though there is actually a better option for this section. But I tend to use both, actually. I look at this as well. But I would strongly suggest that you start using Milarki, which is a website. You just make a user and then you can start using it. When you play a game, that makes it really easy for you to see who's in the lead for the game and what's going on in the game. So this video is not sponsored or anything. I just wanted to point that out. And yeah, so that's it for today's video. Lastly, I just would like you to write a comment. Well, first off, you can always push the like button if you enjoyed this video. And if not, then push subscribe. Or if you do, then still push subscribe for the channel. And I will make more content that you might like or might not like. Hopefully you will like what I do in the future if you don't like it now. Anyways, what I was going to say was that in the comment section, let me know what was your first army in Age of Sigmar and why. And also, if you haven't started playing yet, what will be your first army in Age of Sigmar? Because I hope you will start playing the game. Start off with Spearhead if you think it's a lot to start with Age of Sigmar. Then start off with Spearhead and have a feel for it, and then go on to Age of Sigmar after that. But let me know in the comment section if this video was of any use for you, if there's any of these armies that you will pick from, or if you will pick something else. Yeah, and that's it. Take care.